Hello, everyone. I'm Mickey Moore, host of Run Life Today. Welcome to another episode in our conversational series this season. I'm joined today by a good friend, Erik Davis. Hey, Erik.
Hey, Mickey.
As always, we want to bring inspiring individuals, teams, and businesses to our audience to listen and learn about their stories, where they've been in business and fitness, and friends and family and community involvement. At the end of the day, we want to hear from them and the art that they've learned in order to run more of their life versus life running them. So we hope you enjoy today's episode and have a few takeaways. As a reminder, anytime you want to learn more about Run Life Today, please visit our website at runlifetoday.org. Watch us, like us, follow us, subscribe, and all of that. But let's get back to it and welcome Erik again. So Erik Davis, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, brother. How you doing?
I can't complain. Things are good. Just got off the bike a few minutes ago, so I'm ready to do a great interview and then get some dinner.
That sounds like a plan.
For folks that are trying to get more out of life, run more life, than let life run them. So for their benefit, let me go back. Because again, I know you, but let me go back and tell us a little bit, Erik, first of all, about your background. I want to know a little bit about where you're from, your family history a little bit, maybe you're growing up through your schooling. So if you could give me that 20 plus years in like 5 minutes. But I think it just sets a good tone for a conversation. So go ahead.
Absolutely, man. Not a lot of people know it, but born and raised in Mobile, Alabama, but actually a little city called Pritchard, Alabama, which is right outside of Mobile. Small community, 28,000 people, best known for high school football. There was a period of time in the 90s where in that small city, the two schools, a 5A and a 6A school, were both ranked #1 in the state of Alabama in their divisions, and both were ranked in the top 10 in the country. I mean, just ridiculous talent in that area, but a poverty-stricken area always has been. For most period of time, it was one of the lowest ranked in Alabama, which makes you automatically one of the lowest ranked in the country as it pertained to income per household. So not an easy place to grow up, but I still have a fond memory of my childhood. And I was educated right there in the Mobile County school system, elementary school in my community. Was picked out of there and went into the math and science school from 4th through 8th and went into an honors high school, which once being pulled out of the standard into the honors and the magnet program really set me on a trajectory to have success because education became even more prioritized and I was challenged in what I was doing. Family, all in Mobile, when holidays in non-pandemic years, we are there on Thanksgiving and have the large family gatherings and have a great time. Raised by my mom, my grandma, my great-grandma. So strong women in my background, always loving on me, making sure I'm good. And I stayed close to home. I finished at LaFleur Magnet School in Mobile and went to University of South Alabama, majored in finance and econ, and had an apartment the entire time, but stayed close to home where I had that family network that was there. Upon completing my undergrad work, began to interview and spoke with institutions in Houston, Atlanta, and Tallahassee. And I did a road trip in my last spring break to interview and came to Tallahassee. One of my relatives lives here, and I only interviewed in places where I had family members because I wanted to have some type of a network, and in the community I decided to move into. And I'll never forget, I visited my girlfriend at the time in Huntsville at the beginning of spring break in Huntsville, Alabama. And I came to Tallahassee through backwoods Alabama. It took me into Georgia through Bainbridge. I got a ticket in Bainbridge. And I'll never forget that ticket, and came down into Tallahassee that way. And I remember coming down the Canopy Road. I guess it must have brought me down Meridian, where I live now, into town. And that was the first feeling that I got of Tallahassee, was of the canopy roads coming into the city.
So what year was that? Give me an estimate.
That was 2006.
2006. Okay, so
Spring of 2006.
all right, so that's a good piece of your background there. And did you siblings? Are you
Only child.
only child? Okay.
Mom was an only child also. I broke it. I have two.
I hear you. I was an only child too. You know, my mom and my dad. I was the only one, you know, from them. And I think your dad. Did you have a relationship with your dad? I got to ask, because I think you and I have that in common. You know, the
Yeah.
fact that we grew
None
up.
at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You ever have an inkling, a
Yeah,
wonder?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Certain more so as you become a father. Yeah.
I get that, right? But I know you're well suited for being a great dad. I've seen it. So, all right. So, South Alabama University mascot is that the Salukis?
No, man. We're the Jaguars. Go Jags.
You're the Jaguars? Who are the
Go
Salukis?
Jags. Yeah.
Oh, that's Southern Illinois
Yeah.
Salukis. All right, my bad. Jaguars, man.
Come
All
on,
right.
man.
Okay, so you studied, was it finance, or because eventually you got into banking? What was it,
Yeah.
finance? Or-
In the Mitchell College of Business, it was finance and econ together, but I was on the econ trail. I'm a fan of microeconomics, bottom up management.
Okay, so then where did that interest come from? That's why I asked that question.
Yeah.
Sometimes we end up in different careers than what we studied, but at least initially you had an interest. Where did that come from? Where did the business
Yeah.
interest come from?
Well, I've always been interested in business, and I always have been interested in banking. And as I entered college, I was looking for, I knew I was going to major in business, but when I entered, I did general because I just was not certain as to what route I would take. And I took that Econ 101 class, and that was micro. And I had an engaging professor who just really brought it to life for me. And I took that same professor for the intro to macro, same experience. Not as fond of macro, but I still enjoyed the class and did well in it. And I ended up declaring my major shortly after that class to economics because I figured if I was going to actually enjoy a course of that nature, I'd dig a little deeper. And turned out that there were, I want to say 3,500 students in the Mitchell College of Business at that point in time. It was one of the largest schools on campus. But when I graduated in the summer of '06, there were only 9 econ majors at that point in time. There were, majority of my classes were all taught by doctors of econ. And we would have courses with 4 and 5 students. So you got a level of knowledge from your professors well beyond the coursework that was designed. They really got a chance to inject their knowledge into us. And that was my entire focus of econ were in classes of that nature. So nice. I couldn't have asked for a better experience.
Yeah, I mean, how beneficial that was.
So
awesome. Let's move forward, and I'm going to kind of do this in bubbles. So from a business standpoint, right? So you've had a career in the financial industry primarily, right? So a couple different banks, Capital City Bank, Wells Fargo, and now you're at a new opportunity. So just share a few highlights about the career moves you've had and tell us what you're doing today with TC.
Absolutely. So I came in through, with Capital City Bank, through a management training program. And one of my mentors at the time, as I was in college, was one of those professors of econ. And he knew I was interested in banking. So as I was having conversations with him after doing those interviews, I mentioned to him that a management training program opportunity was presented. And he stopped me right there and he was like, hey, I consider that the opportunity to basically get a graduate degree with a banking focus without you going to grad school. That's the way he envisioned management training programs. And he wasn't wrong. I couldn't have asked for a better way to come in because with Capital City, I worked, initially as a teller for 2 weeks, went through the complete teller training, worked on the line, and you just progressed over a 2 to 3 or a month period. Each rotation staggered in length depending on the focus they wanted you to have on it. But from working as a teller to spending time with the executive team was all encompassed in that program. with a heavy focus on the lending and the underwriting standpoint. And it simultaneously let me do Omega credit underwriting training, which I completed along the same time that I completed the program. So you can't ask for a better start or a better organization to cut your teeth within. So upon completing that, I went into underwriting because we were in the middle of the Great Recession. So I got sheltered and placed into safety versus being asked to produce as a lender shortly after. And that was a great experience. And I was with them until 2010. In 2010, I was in Mobile. I had recently purchased an investment property in Pritchard, the area I grew up in, hoping to take a blighted property and make it a bright spot. And I was had closed on the property, and I was opening an account at a small community bank there that I was familiar with. And the CEO popped his head into the office of his office manager as we were speaking. And he was like, "Hey, can you come talk to me when you're done? Just a few minutes." Now, EJ was 2, he wasn't even 3 yet. And he was on my lap in this bank. So I popped in after opening the account. We have a conversation. He overheard me telling his office manager what I did. And we just hit it off. We had a conversation for about as long as EJ could tolerate it. And a few weeks later, I was living back in Mobile and working for him directly. And it was just a knowledge dump that expanded my skill set beyond what it was with Capital City up until that point. I got a chance to chase municipalities and go as far upstream as I could with a small institution. That was really a community bank. So I learned to leverage the SBA in that time to really take my legal lending limit higher. That skill set expansion presented itself in a way that made me attractive to Wells Fargo, who called on me at the end of 2011. And my wife and I had been talking about potentially getting back to Tallahassee because with 2 kids, this community, it's hard to beat it when it comes to raising a family. So I was open to the opportunity, but not actively looking at that point in time. And the phone rang, and it was Wells Fargo, and I had a conversation. We come down here, we stay at a loft downtown, got a chance to go to a downtown get down. So it was the best weekend ever to schedule an interview, and I accepted. So I started, I want to say December 26th of that year. So the day after Christmas with a empty office and a lot of compliance work to do. And, in that role, my skill set again got an opportunity to grow. And you'll see a kind of a theme. Each step that I've been able to take within my career has been an opportunity to expand on my skill set and my offerings to clients. My lane to work within Wells Fargo continued to expand. And at the point that I was leaving Wells Fargo, my target client was a $10 million in revenue up to a $75 million in revenue client, which that's a sophisticated relationship management. Shrinks the number of clients you work with, but really allows you to be a partner in line, working with the C-suite to really add value to the relationship. And
I mean, and again, you and I have a lot in common from, my career, my previous careers, or whatever you want to call them.
Right.
Having gone through consumer finance to credit unions and banking. And, when you become that advisor, it's such an important role. And I tell people all the time, what helped me be a nonprofit executive and what's helped me run my own business is my experience as a business banker. Because, being able to see and learn cash flow and credit and just all of that in a business, whether it be a for-profit or nonprofit, those are life skills, man, that you carry forever. So Wells Fargo, eventually, now you're at somebody new, right? New and exciting opportunity. So
absolutely.
Tell me briefly about that before we get into your other businesses.
So TC Federal, man, the bank is 85 years old, started in Thomasville, Georgia, currently operating with an office over in Savannah, Georgia, and in the Tallahassee market. And the Tallahassee market is viewed as a growth opportunity. And I was viewed as a person that can assist in that goal of expanding the market and really bringing client service to the forefront. That's the key. All the skills that I've learned throughout my career, I don't drop them off as time passes. I'll try to build upon them and continue to utilize them because, like you said, you can really carve out a niche by being a person who understands the full circle. You're not able to just discuss one lane. You can actually place yourself in the client seat, kind of perceive what they're thinking or what potentially could come at you from their side of the table. What keeps them up at night? What are they potentially concerned with, and be proactive in presenting solutions to it. I like to listen and hear what they're thinking. I love to know what your priorities are, what's driving this year for you. And then I like to literally swing my chair around. You and I are sitting shoulder to shoulder. Let's brainstorm on strategies. And I like more than one option to achieve that goal. Let's have an A, B, and a C. And it works well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, again, you and I can talk business all day long because I know you get value proposition, and you're using a value proposition of experience and expertise. It's not about the product or the price or the best service in the world. It's a combination of your ability to be proactive, responsive, preemptive, anticipatory, and be a good, relationship partner versus a transactor of business, right? So, and I know, Steve Evans had a wonderful recommendation, on LinkedIn that he put, I guess over time, he mentored you for a couple of years, and he's just was very glowing in his admiration of you and what you do. And so, and I am as well. I mean, that's why I'm interviewing you for Run Life Today, right?
Appreciate it.
So, well, I wish you luck on that, but I want to get into fitness and some other lanes of work and life that you seem to integrate well. So you're wearing a shirt with the WA on it, and I know what that means. But tell us more about the company you started years ago. Really for impact purposes, right? But
Absolutely.
then how it's kind of transitioned into this active, lifestyle clothing line that is just taken off around the country, right? So share a little bit about that.
Yeah, man, you nailed it. And that's because you and I know each other. But it was I got started in 2015. I realized that I needed to make a change and try to work on my fitness, work on my health. I wanted to be active. And entering into that space, I started off in a fitness gym with high intensity training, but I got the running bug rather early. I got to the point where I could run a 5K, and once I ran a 5K, I ran a 5K every week for a month. And Mickey, after that month, it was just strong. So I immediately started to attend the long runs on the weekends. And I started talking to people about how far they were going, because I was doing 3 miles or 4 miles. And this person would say, I'm going 15. I'm like, what? I'm just going to go 13 today. And they use the word just. Yeah. And I'm looking like, okay, that's kind of cool. So it progresses from there. But Mickey, during the same time, I encountered a little bit of cliques within the community where, you may get a smile, but I didn't feel completely welcome. And I was like, man, that's not cool. I'm not that kind of guy. So that's where the work ethic came from. In the gym, I kind of got that nickname from one of the head trainers because I would go hard because I wanted to achieve those goals. Mm-hmm. So I started the Facebook group, #workaddict, and started to invite people that I knew that I had met in the fitness community. And then it just began to expand. I think it started with 25 members. We're at the current time, we're up to around 880 members. And a lot of those members are in Tallahassee, but we're around the entire country with some international members. Largest second hub outside of Tallahassee is Des Moines, Iowa. One of the best ambassadors in the world, Cheryl Rogers, relocated from Tallahassee to Des Moines, and the brand just took off. People like the message. It's simple, it's clean, and everything we do is all about positivity. There's no reason to be a negative person towards someone who's working to work on their fitness level. We all started somewhere. I couldn't run a mile when I started, so we always uplift and encourage everyone despite where they are. And we have members who are in the group just spectating at the moment, but they're going to come off that couch soon and we're going to cheer for them. And at the same time, we have sponsored athletes who go out here and win races. that are in the group also, looking at you, Mickey. So, so
Right.
it runs the spectrum. And that now, I created a shirt initially, and I was like, I want to wear this, and then people started asking. I was like, maybe I should do some of these. So the first shirt is so simple. It was just gray with the hashtag work addicts on it, and that was that. It was probably 5 or 6 months later that I decided to, expand it a little bit. And I started to do my first true design. So I made a new design shirt with arrogant runner or deviant runner on the sleeve. I think it was the best seller for probably a couple of years, despite having some more successful shirts, because people wanted to wear those because there was a story behind it, and it was kind of it brought us together.
I get that.
Yeah, but it's expanded now to many hats.
Oh yeah. I mean, see, and that's the amazing thing, because again, understanding business, right? You're a banker. You know what it's like to run a business, and here you are. We haven't even gotten the family and community involvement yet, and you've got a clothing line. I mean, you're talking inventories, distribution. I mean, there's so much design. I mean, again, and taking the money and putting the money in the bank.
Right.
So I admire, your ability to do that. And of course, I'm a fan of Work Addicts. I love doing work and getting work done, and repping the shirts when I get a chance to. I got a couple of them that I'll wear on a race here and there. So, and obviously beyond Work Addicts and the clothing and the business side, but triathlete, marathoner, you're riding the bike a lot. I mean, you're fitting in all of that fitness piece. So kudos to you for doing that and owning your health and fitness.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
So community, right? So another one of those lanes of work and life that you integrate really well. If I remember correctly, I know you're involved with United Way. You may be a board chair somewhere else, but give me a couple of those organizations that you care the most about here in town or elsewhere that you spend some energy with.
Yeah, man, I love it. I don't sign up for board membership unless there's a passion around that organization. And one that's close to my heart is Kids Inc. of the Big Bend. I've served on the Kids Inc. board for 2 full terms. I was on their board shortly after getting to Tallahassee. That was my first board I joined in 2007. And when moving back to Tallahassee, I joined their board again. I was on the Foundation for Leon County School, Big Bend Habitat for Humanity. Recently, the Community Co-op on their founding board. And as you mentioned, the United Way of the Big Bend, I've always been involved with the United Way because long backstory into Mobile, but they played a role into me sitting in this chair and being here at the moment also. So that organization, I will always support.
Nice. Yeah. And, again, and Antoine does a great job, right? And I know
Absolutely.
I've known Pam Davis before she retired, of course. I know she's not there anymore, but what a wonderful job she did at that organization. And Bernice is lights out for United Way right now. So, thank you for your commitment to the community. And I love when you said I don't join boards unless there's a passion, because I do think that happens, right? In my experience, I've seen people join boards for the wrong reasons, and that doesn't help the organization. It really doesn't, So another lane, though, I want to talk about is family, right? So share with us what, about your family today. And again, I've seen from afar and close, what it means to you, but tell us a little bit about your family, Erik.
Yeah, Mickey, my wife and I, we've been married since 2006. We've been in there for a while, and we have 2 kids. My son, Erik Jr., 13, getting ready to be 14. And my daughter, Madison McKenzie, she is 10, getting ready to be 11. Birthday's coming up in February and March. So we're gearing up for that. But, that's it. Family of 4 here. Have a couple relatives here in town. My cousin, Glenda Thornton, and my cousin, Kevin, Glenda's brother. And the majority of our family beyond Tallahassee are in Mobile, with a couple sprinkled around in Atlanta and a few on the West Coast.
So then y'all are pretty active as a family too.
Right? Absolutely. We get out and we stay about. And the kids, EJ's done a couple 5Ks. and so is Madison. She's in Girls on the Run, and she has a more of an interest in distance running than EJ does.
Okay, so and we come to the time here in this wonderful conversation where directly you get to say, hey, try this. And let me preface your best tips and best practices with this. We know success in integrating work and life across so many lanes, it's all relative, right? And there's no guaranteed science, there's no formula that you can plug in. I firmly believe that it's more of an art over time. We succeed, we fail, we succeed, we try new things. But I know in my travels, meeting people like you over the years, that there's certain habits and behaviors that you repeat when it comes to successfully running life more than life runs you. So what would you say to somebody who's ready to take that step?
And I love it. It becomes one of those things you have to focus on, and it's owning your goals. First thing is you set a goal. You have to be willing to do that. It's a huge step to set a goal that you want to obtain. And I like that goal to be big and scary. And then you have to take bites out of it. Really, you have to set a strategy as to how you're going to get there. And you don't say, I'm going to run a marathon, and you go out and run a 26-mile training run tomorrow. No, you have to have a 16, 18-week, 20-week plan to get you there. And a lot of these life goals are a 1, 2, 3, 4-year plan to get you there, and you have to be willing to stay in there. But what I always say is, be purposeful in chasing those goals. It's what you're doing. Prioritize them. Carve out the time for them. You say you want to save $10,000 this year. You don't pay everything and then put a little amount of money over into your savings account. No, you say, I'm going to save X amount per pay period. You move that first, and then you shuffle everything else around it to adjust your behavior to make sure that that goal is achieved. So prioritize it, make it happen. And then be mindful of the polite discouragement. It's one of those things that gets me in fitness more than anything else. It's an individual who hasn't come to their mindset that they can achieve what you're chasing, or even willingness to chase it, who drop little things into your ear that can eat away at your willingness to chase it. Be careful with your knees. You shouldn't be running on the concrete. Be careful, things that if a person who is not resolute in their willingness to chase their goal could be deterred by. You protect what you set out on. And I got some buddies great young crew who I started with at Capital City. And it's funny about the title that you have. Back then, I would start a saying, and I have it on some of the things probably on old Facebook posts: live your life, don't let your life live you. Because you'll get to a point where you're on autopilot, and things are just moving along, and you're not driving the bus. And when you're in control and you're chasing a goal, it feels completely different. Things become more mobile. You can force things, you can will it into coming to fruition. And when the negative thing happens, it bounces off of you with greater ease than when you're just going with the current and taking what it gives you. That knocks you farther off. If you're actually swimming with it to get to a destination, it's much easier to correct and continue to move toward that goal. So that's it, Mickey.
Yeah, that's great. And I can't wait for people to hear that. Again, it's owning your goal, having it, writing it, be purposeful, right? Yeah. Prioritize it and execute, right? And then, don't feed the negative. Don't let the polite disencouragement, because it happens and they can be slight sometimes, but man, people are just,
Mickey. They're not intending to be negative, but they don't understand what their words can do to a person chasing the goal.
That's right. And it takes a little bit too, the vulnerability piece, right? Putting it on paper, and how vulnerable, we express on Facebook, right? We'll put out there, hey, I'm going to try to do a 50K, or I'm going to try to do a triathlon. And, just that simple measure of putting it out there publicly, that's being vulnerable.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know, and there's no guarantees. So that's why I wanted to, again, preface your suggestions. They're great best practices. I hope people try that out. But again, it may work for some and it may work for no one. I mean, you just like marathon training, right? You take a little piece of every training thing you try and make your own eventually, right? Because your plan, Erik, may not work for me.
Right.
My plan may not work for you, but I may borrow a little bit of your plan and put it into mine, right?
Exactly.
So, Erik, it means a lot that you give me this time. I wish you and your family and your businesses continued success. I know I'm going to see you sometime around here soon because we got work to do,
No doubt about
right?
it.
We got work to do. And for our audience, look for our next episode coming up soon. And again, visit the website, runlifetoday.org. And remember, do the best you can at running life versus letting life run you. Take care.
See you guys.